with a condition. This is defined by the Supreme Court. What is a conditional threat? And what is threat with a condition? Example of a second one. Threat with a condition. I will kill you if you not give me 1 million pesos. That is a threat with a condition. That's still, there's still liability. DepEd is totally out of the jurisdiction of this committee, the actuations of the former secretary. Then on page, Madam Chair, on page 36, once again, 1, 2 to 3.3 paragraph, 125 million in DepEd confidential funds in the late 2022-2023. Again, DepEd, we cannot have jurisdiction over DepEd. The case of Duterte versus House of Representatives clearly state that the impeachable offenses must relate to the acts of the position and the office where the person is sought to be impeached. And we're not going to impeach a secretary of a department here, but there is an allegation against her as the vice president. So that is page 36.
Consideration and no operational step taken beyond speech. Conspiracy requires implementation elements. Sedition requires overt acts. Culpable violation requires a specific, willful breach of a constitutional duty. None are pleaded with particularity. General invocations of a constitutional order and oath-taking cannot substitute for a clearly identified constitutional provision willfully violated. Under the standard consistently applied in the PBBM proceedings, rhetoric, however alarming, does not become an impeachable offense absent ultimate facts establishing execution. Accordingly, Article 1 rests on inference and conclusion rather than pleaded ultimate facts and is insufficient in substance. I so manifest. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next is the Honorable Chua.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, mukhang nalilito po yung mga kasama natin. Wala po tayo dito para determine yung criminal aspect ng complaint. Nandito po tayo para tignan natin kung pag binasa po natin etong facts, ito po ba papasok as impeachable offense? Now, let me clarify this. Ito pong Article 1 makikita po natin sa paragraph 83 pababa. At dito po, sa paragraph 85, dito po, clearly and expressly, binanggit po dito yung kataga na binanggit po ng ating Vice Presidente. At ano po to? Already as a person to take revenge and that if I get killed, patayin mo si BBM, si Lisa Araneta, at si Martin Romualdez. No joke, no joke. Now, paano po ito papasok bilang impeachable offense? Sabi po dito sa same impeachment complaint, sabi po dito, makikita natin to sa paragraph 91 to 93. Ano po to? Meron daw pong culpable violation ng Constitution. Now, ano po yung specific provision sa ating Constitution ang binayolate? So makikita naman po natin to sa Article 7, Section 5. Dahil dito po, sa Article 7, Section 5, nakasaad po dito ng ating saligang batas, and I quote, Madam Chair, before they enter on the execution of their office, the President, the Vice President, or the acting President shall take the following oath or affirmation. Ang second paragraph, ito po yung kanilang oath. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully and conscientiously fulfill my duties as President or Vice President or Acting President of the Philippines, preserve and defend its constitution, execute its law, do justice to every man, and consecrate myself to the service of the nation. Defend its constitution and execute its laws. Definitely, yung pagbabanta po is not a form of executing its laws. And therefore, there is a clear violation and culpable violation of the Constitution. Second, sinabi po dito at binanggit din po dito sa complaint, betrayal of public trust. At dito po defined under paragraph 94, the Supreme Court has defined betrayal of public trust as a catch-all ground encompassing acts that constitute gross faithlessness against public trust, tyrannical abuse of power, inexcusable negligence of duty, favoritism, and gross exercise of discretionary power to the prejudice of the public interest. Gross faithlessness, pagtataksil sa tiwala ng publiko. Definitely, yung pagbabanta po sa ating Papangulo, sa First Lady, at sa ating Speaker, ay maliwanag na pagtataksil. Dahil itong tao po, yung Pangulo po natin, ay pinagkatiwalaan at hinalal para mamuno po sa ating bansa. We have to look at the surface. Hindi ko po sinasabi na guilty na. Dahil yung guilty or not, yung trial po yan sa Senado. Ang nandito lamang po ay by mere narration of facts. Sa pagbabasa lamang po ba nito, meron po bang grounds na na-violate? I submit, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chua. Before we proceed, we acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Congressman Jose Manuel Tadeo Chel Jokno from Akbayan Party List. We acknowledge as well our Deputy Speaker, Honorable Raymond Democrito C. Mendoza. And finally, we welcome and acknowledge our Senior Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Ferdinand L. Hernandez, of course, from the 2nd District of South Cotabato. Thank you for coming to all the Kongs. Now we proceed. We acknowledge the Honorable Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Article 1 is based on three grounds for impeachment. First is the culpable violation of the Constitution. Second, betrayal of public trust. And third, other high crimes. To support these three grounds for impeachment, as found in our Constitution, it has three acts that are alleged to support these three, and which are assassination plot, sedition, and subversion. Let us go first to subversion, not as a crime itself, but as a support to the three, either of the three. And so, subversion, Madam Chair, was precisely made illegal in 1937 under Republic Act 1700. However, subversion, like in this case, they state subversion of constitutional order, subversion, Republic Act 1700, was repealed precisely in 1992 during democratic times. In 1992, Republic Act 7636 removes subversion. It cannot be a crime nor a support now to the three grounds that we have. Completely repealed in 1992, the subversion aspect of an act of a Filipino. Then we have sedition, Madam Chair. Sedition is an act of publicly uprising and tumultuously engaging in acts to really remove the established government and officials. So it cannot be because Sara Duterte did not publicly rise with arms to be able to remove the present government. Probably what they want to say is inciting to sedition. Because sedition itself is governed by our Article 139 of the Revised Penal Code, the rising publicly and tumultuously. If you go to Article 142, this will be inciting to sedition, but there is also no recital of facts that the Vice President made speeches or made publications to say, let us remove the present administration. Nothing. In fact, yesterday, if you see the video, she was just present. When her father spoke. Second, when Kibolo had a mass at a gathering, but she did not speak there. So therefore, against the present government. So these two are out, definitely out. Subversion of constitutional order is no basis to say there is violation of the Constitution, nor sedition or even inciting to sedition. So we now go to assassination plot. Here we go. This is what is cited in the first paragraph on factual allegations is under page 28, paragraph 85. Ito na. Already asked a person to take revenge and that if I get killed, patayin mo si BBM, Lisa Raneta, at si Martin Romualdez. No joke. Now, we have to distinguish, Madam Chair, between conditional threat and threat with a condition. This is defined by the Supreme Court. What is a conditional threat and what is threat with a condition? Example of a second one. Threat with a condition. I will kill you if you not give me 1 million pesos. That is a threat with a condition. There's still liability. However, conditional threat, like I'll kill you if I am killed, that is a threat from the grave, so-called. Even, Madam Chair, even the late presidential legal advisor, the late Juan Ponce Enrile, I saw him in an interview. He said there is no crime because it is conditional. The entire, statement about killing somebody only arises if you are dead, and both of them are very much alive. However, this is now the situation, Mr. Madam Chair. The one who said it is the Vice President. The persons where the conditional threat is being mentioned is the President, the First Lady, and the Speaker. And so this committee will have to therefore decide whether that reaches the sufficiency of form and substance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Zamora.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make another manifestation regarding Article 1. Article 1 of the fourth impeachment complaint. I was part of the prosecution team in the last impeachment, and I handled this. And we saw the evidence of the NBI. In fact, for the information of everyone, this went to the NBI. The NBI filed a case, and they have the evidence. Now, that threats were conditional, is inconsequential. We heard what the Honorable Janice Degamo said yesterday, and I believe that, we were all touched and maybe disturbed by what she said yesterday. She said that their family received threats, conditional at the start, but in the end, the threats became real and her husband was murdered. The video that we are talking about was viewed by everyone, including international media, international persons. This happened on the 23rd of November, 2024, early morning. And we all saw how the Vice President hurled expletives and publicly admitted that she had set into motion a clear plot to assassinate the President, the First Lady, and the former Speaker of the House. These acts, Madam Chair, are stated, as I said earlier, in paragraphs 85 to 111 of the impeachment complaint. It is clear that the overt acts that we are looking for are in the impeachment complaint. The video that we are all talking about was mentioned in the annexes, or was it? Yes, it was mentioned in the annexes of the complaint. And for everyone's information, this is what we call res ipsa loquitur, or the thing speaks for itself. Everyone heard what the Vice President said, and again, these are mentioned in the impeachment complaint. So we do not go into the elements of the different crimes of the revised penal code, but the mere act, Madam Chair, that she said these words and that she contracted an assassin is impeachable in itself. That's all, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other member who wishes to manifest?
Madam Chair, can I be allowed to speak?
This will be your winding up as well, the Honorable Abante.
Yes.
After this, we will be proceeding to the second ground.
Upon
The Honorable
the-
Abante is recognized.
Upon hearing the statement of Congressman Rufus, medyo umiikot po yung aking isipan tungkol dito sapagkat nakalagay naman sa impeachment complaint natin yung bang grossly inconsistent with the dignity of her office. Now, question is, proper dignity ba yung statement ni Vice President Sara when it comes to assassination threat? Hindi lamang assassination threat, Madam Chair, assassination plot sapagkat meron na po siyang hinire na assassin. Sinabi niya sinabi niya, hindi joke yan. Pangalawa, yung po sinasabi nating gross exercise of discretionary powers. Yung pa'y kasama pa sa tinatawag na discretionary powers ng Vice President to threaten the President. Hindi na pinag-uusapan dito yung sedition o saka yung subversion. Ang pinag-uusapan po dito, yung dignity ng office ng Vice President, yung discretion powers ng Vice President. Yung po ba ang tinatawag natin, dapat ba na ito ay gawin nating baliwala, Madam Chair? So while the VP may claim her remarks were not serious, a high-ranking official threatening the life of the head of a state is a high crime and a threat to national stability. Yun lamang po.
Thank you. Now we proceed to Article 2 of the fourth impeachment complaint. Please allow the chair to read. Betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption. Among the offenses cited are misuse and malversation of confidential funds, violation of Joint Memorandum Circular number 2015-01, COA findings, and falsification of documents. Now we elicit the comment and manifestation of the justice members.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Rodriguez.
Bong Sonta is not here, so I just go ahead because he would have been first always. Madam Chair, on Article 2, it is betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption. I would just like to take exception in accordance with what I stated yesterday. Page 34 includes the DepEd. And as I have stated, and I remind again, members of the Committee on Justice, that we have no jurisdiction over actuations of the former Secretary of the Department of Education. So, page 934, we say that the statement of corruption by grossly abusing discretionary authority over confidential funds appropriated to the OVP, that's fine. But the statement that DepEd is totally out of the jurisdiction of this committee, the actuations of the former secretary. Then on page, Madam Chair, on page 36, once again, 1223.3 paragraph, 125 million in DepEd confidential funds in the late 2022-2023. Again, DepEd, we cannot have jurisdiction over DepEd. The case of Duterte versus House of Representatives clearly state that the impeachable offenses must relate to the acts of the position and the office where the person is sought to be impeached. And we're not going to impeach a secretary of a department here, but there is an allegation against her as the vice president. So that is page 36. And then on page 38, we have here 129 paragraph. It says a random sampling of receipts and acknowledgement receipts submitted by the OBP and DepEd revealed numerous defects. So once again, the statement of DepEd, the statement about DepEd is that it is beyond our jurisdiction. And then also 132, several receipts, OVP and DepEd should not be included. Now, on page 39, there is this allegation of physical distribution and third-party deliveries, use of DepEd vehicles and personnel. Again, this is about DepEd. It could not be part of the investigation on the allegations of the impeachment. And so, Madam Chair, those are my observation on Article 2. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
Meanwhile, the chair wishes to remind the justice members, while we value the significance of all your arguments, we resolve already to adopt the discussion we had yesterday in the determination of sufficiency in substance of the third impeachment complaint for the purpose of our deliberation on the sufficiency in substance of the fourth impeachment complaint. We therefore encourage the members to raise new matters. Members who wish to manifest? The Honorable Chua and then
Madam Chair.
Honorable Tino,
Madam Chair,
Honorable Joboy Aquino, and Honorable Chel Jokno.
Madam Chair.
And Honorable Abante.
Madam Chair.
And Honorable Nazal. Honorable Chua first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, as already manifested yesterday, I stand with my position that the Vice President, we should not distinguish between her position as Secretary of DepEd and Vice President by, again, citing the constitutional provision that under the Constitution, the Vice President may be appointed as member of the Cabinet and such appointment requires no confirmation. So meaning to say that the appointment of the Vice President as Secretary of DepEd is concurrent position. Hindi po siya ma-appoint doon if she were not the Vice President. And secondly, siya nga lang po ang nag-iisang Cabinet Secretary na hindi na kailangan ng confirmation precisely dahil siya po ay Vice President. And thirdly, in addition to those statements and for the information of the body, the Vice President as Secretary of the DepEd is not receiving any allowance or emolument as Secretary of DepEd. Therefore, and it is very obvious na kaya po siya nandoon, again, because of her position as Vice President. Having said that, Madam Chair, I would like also to point out that from the perusal of the second argument, sabi po dito, ito pong second ground anchored on the allegation that the Vice President has committed betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption. Now, paano po pumasok ito? Kung babasahin po natin doon sa paragraph 1, 2, 3, sabi po dito, on 20 December 2022, Land Bank check number 224-244027 in the amount of 100 25 million was issued to the OBP and encash at the Land Bank Show Boulevard by SDO Gina Acosta. So dito po sa paragraph na to, makikita natin, wala pa pong participation ang ating Vice President. Now, ito pong paragraph 1, 2, 3, this should be read in relation to paragraph 1, 3, 4. Dito po sa Madriaga affidavit, chain of custody. Dahil ito pong winidraw dito sa paragraph 1, 2, 3 na 125 million na in-encash na sinasabi na nilagay po sa mga multiple bags na nakalagay sa paragraph 125 na binigay po kay Dante La Chica ay binigay po kay Madriaga. At dito naman po si Madriaga, sinasabi po niya na ito daw duffel bag, 4 na duffel bag na kinuha niya ng cash sa Ultra Pasig City noong December 20, 2022. Take note of the date, Madam Chair. Ibig sabihin, ito rin yung araw kung kailan in-encash yung 125 million. Siya daw ay nag-deliver netong 4 na duffel bag sa various recipient including a mayor in Laguna, an office in Timog, and a vehicle left at the Ombudsman parking compound for retrieval. At this point, wala pa rin pong participation ang ating Vice President. Now, paano po napunta dito? Paano po ito naging impeachable offense? Makikita po natin yan sa paragraph 150. Kasi dito po sa paragraph 150, nakalagay po dito, the OBP SDO's testimony that they were instructed to turn over cash to intermediaries, which is Nolasco to Madriaga, at the direction of respondent Sara Duterte supports direct liability. So dito po pumapasok yung participation ng respondent. Kaya po, dito po pumapasok yung grounds which is grave, which is betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption. So with that, pagbabasahin lamang po natin yung facts, makikita po natin na may sufficient in substance. That's all, Madam Chair.
We just want to share to the justice members that the Madriaga affidavit referred to by the Honorable Chua is part of the attachments, I think, of both the third and the fourth impeachment complaint. That's for the guidance of the justice members. Before we proceed, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Zia Alonto Adjong from the 1st District of Lanao del Sur. We also acknowledge the presence of Deputy Majority Leader Crispin Diego D. Remulla. And we acknowledge as well the presence of Deputy Speaker David J.J.C. Suarez. To proceed, we would like to recognize the Honorable Joboy Aquino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Earlier, Madam Chair, we've heard that from our good friend, Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, that we cannot, as Education Secretary, we cannot impeach her because they covered. But all I want to say, Madam Chair, is it is the same person also that is being accused of a crime to commit murder. No, what I'm trying to say, isang tao lang to. Pero yung ginagawa niya sa OVP, ginagawa niya rin sa DepEd. That's all. Simple lang yan, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Next is the Honorable Tino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, initially, I raised my hand in order to ask for clarification regarding the relevance of the initial motion that was carried, that the discussions on the third hearing that are relevant to the fourth complaint are carried. No, so you already clarified that indeed they are carried, and therefore we do not need to spend so much time recapitulating the arguments that were already raised yesterday, including this argument of our esteemed Dean of Law and colleague, Dean Rufus, Congressman Rufus. No? So he mentioned again the argument about the Vice President as against the Deputy Secretary. And so, we don't have to go through the debates again. No? And I would just like to say that, once again, my position is that we are not impeaching the Deputy Secretary, which would be absurd, but the Vice President carrying out her function as a member of the cabinet as provided for in the Constitution, no, as Deputy Secretary. So yun po ang ginagawa natin dito, kaya nasa jurisdiction po yan ng komite. Ngayon, regarding the second article in the complaint, I believe that it is sufficient in substance because the allegations here are betrayal of public trust and committing acts of graft and corruption by grossly abusing discretionary authority over confidential funds appropriated to the OVP and DepEd, causing or permitting the fabrication and submission of implausible liquidation documents, and directing the physical transfer and distribution of large cash sums outside lawful accounting channels, and by obstructing audit and congressional oversight. So, kompleto po yun. No? Mula sa pag-abuso sa confidential funds hanggang sa pagtatakip ng abusong ito sa pamamagitan ng pagteke ng mga dokumento na sinabmit sa COA at ang pagtutol niya o pagtanggi niya na magpaliwanag sa Kongreso sa paggamit nito. And from paragraphs 100 from paragraphs 121 to 122.3, yun po yung tungkol sa 125 million na naubos in 11 days. Tapos from paragraphs 129 to 133, ito naman po yung tungkol sa fabrication of accomplishment reports. And from paragraphs 138 to 140, ito naman po yung tungkol sa refusal of congressional oversight. So I believe, Madam Chair, sufficient po yung allegation of facts to support betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Tino. Next in line is the Honorable Chel Jokno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While I continue to respect Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, despite his comments about law deans, I have to disagree with his argument. First of all, because if we carry that argument to its logical conclusion, it would mean, for example, that if a vice president were to attend a function as Secretary of Education, where the president was also present, and then, let's say, hypothetically, were to brandish a firearm or even discharge it at the president, then does that mean that she cannot be impeached? Second, if we carry that argument, then that would mean that the vice president could easily hide behind that distinction and commit plunder, commit other high crimes as Secretary of Education, and there would be no accountability. So I really must disagree. It's impossible to distinguish those two positions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For the guidance of the members, the exchange of argument is with respect to the jurisdiction of the Justice Committee with regards to the offenses committed as Secretary of Department of Education as to whether or not they can still be considered as within the jurisdiction of the Justice proceedings, Justice Committee proceedings with respect to impeachment offenses. Next is the Honorable Benny Abante.
On the issue of, just like what my good friend Congressman Rufo said, the VP Sara, as DepEd Secretary, is not an impeachable officer. And therefore, the House Committee on Justice has no jurisdiction over her. No. Now, to me, that would be a clever technical argument. Kaya ako ngayon nag-aaral na ng law. Kaya hindi ako abogado dahil si Congressman Rufus, magaling talaga ito eh. Kaya can you imagine, napupuyat ako sa pag-aaral. But anyway, Madam Chair, yung ito pong clever technical argument na ito, it intentionally confuses the position held with the person holding it. In the Philippine context, the House Committee on Justice jurisdiction is not determined by the status of the person being charged, not the specific desk they were sitting at when the act occurred. For example, nakita ko rin po yung tinatawag nating single personality doctrine. Ito po ang punto rito. You are not impeaching a secretary. You are impeaching the Vice President for her conduct while in public service. The Vice President does not have any split personality. Sino bang ating tinutukoy dito? Si Mr. Jekyll ba o si Dr. Hyde? Di ba? Not a split personality. She is a single impeachable officer. Whether she is performing her duties as the OVP or at DepEd, she remains the Vice President of the Philippines, Madam Chair. You cannot strip away her impeachable status just because she stepped into a cabinet meeting. If she commits graft as DepEd Secretary, tulad po na nabanggit ni Congressman Chel Jokno, she has committed graft as the Vice President, and that makes her unfit for office. Ito po ang punto. The Constitution identifies betrayal of public trust as a ground for impeachment. It does not say betrayal of public trust only in the performance of the office of the Vice President duties. If she used her position as a high-ranking official to mismanage DepEd funds or take bribes, she has betrayed the trust the people place in her as what? As the second highest official of the land. The House has jurisdiction because the person is an impeachable officer. Yun lang po, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Abante. Next is the Honorable Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, gusto ko lang sanang maibalik yung usapin no, about what the Justice Committee is about to be doing right now. I think the questions on whether she was doing it as Secretary ba or as Vice President should be totally left to the discretion of the Vice President whether or not she wants to use that defense. Dapat pagbigyan na po natin yung Vice President to choose kung gagamitin niya ba to as an issue in her defense or whether to ignore it, wala po sa atin yan. Ang importante po is ibalik natin ang usapin sa ano ba ang trabaho ng Justice Committee. And our work only, Madam Chair, is to determine whether or not may sufficiency in substance po ba ang allegations that are stated in the impeachment complaint. So whether or not we have jurisdiction, as far as her position is concerned, whether as DepEd Secretary or as Vice President, I believe it is siguro our responsibility also to leave it to the Vice President whether to adopt this kind of defense or not, or even not to answer it at all, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam
The Honorable Ridon.
Well, sa totoo lang ho, kahit hindi na ho natin pag-usapan yung split personality between Vice President and DepEd Secretary, siguro maganda pag-usapan na lang ho natin yung usapin po ng tenure. Kasi impeachable officials are impeachable within their tenure of office. No? So the Vice President has a tenure of office from June 30, 2022 to June 30, 2028. So ang tanong po, yung po bang mga impeachable acts, impeachable offenses, kailan po ito nangyari? Nangyari po ba ito within this particular tenure of office ng isang impeachable officer? Kung ang sagot po dyan ay oo, and quite certainly, yung pong acts niya, Vice President, happened during her tenure of office while she was DepEd Secretary, pasok po yun as impeachable acts and impeachable offenses while she is Vice President. Yun lang po, Madam Chair.
And of course, we recognize the Honorable Defensor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Para matapos na din itong usapin tungkol sa depensa na magkahiwalay ang personality nila, we simply have to go back to the enumeration under the Constitution na ang impeachable officers ay the President, the Vice President, the members of the Supreme Court, the members of the Constitutional Commissions, and the Ombudsman without qualification, without exception na nagsasabing unless otherwise they are appointed as DepEd Secretary or DNR Secretary. So that would be clear, and it's the Constitution itself that has laid down that enumeration to establish the jurisdiction of the committee. Maraming salamat, Chair.
Thank you. That concludes our
Madam Chair.
deliberation on the
Madam
second
Chair.
round.
Hindi pa ako natawag.
The Honorable Suntay.
On the alleged misuse of confidential funds, ginagamit ito ng complainant para ipakita na may misuse o malversation ng confidential funds. Pero mahalagang tandaan na ang paggamit ng confidential funds ay governed ng COA DBM Joint Circular 2015-01. Sa circular na ito, kinikilala na ang confidential funds ay ginagamit para saan? Surveillance activities, intelligence gathering, informant payments. Dahil dito, cash transactions talaga lahat yan. So hindi porket may mga cash transactions o may movement ng funds, ibig sabihin, meron ng malversation o merong corruption na nangyayari. Hindi rin pwedeng sabihin bakit nagastos yung pera in 11 days as alleged. Dahil ang spending, yung bilis ng paggastos, hindi naman automatic, ibig sabihin illegal na. Confidential operations often require immediate payments to sources like informants. Ang mas mahalagang problema sa complaint ay hindi nito pinapakita kung saan napunta ang pera. May personal benefit ba na pumunta o nakuha ang Vice Presidente? Wala sa complaint allegations na tumanggap siya ng bahagi ng pera. Walang nakasaad na may asset bang nabili using that funds. May bank transfer ba papunta sa kanya? Ang reliance ng complaint, kung babasahin natin, mula sa mga COA audit findings. Audit observation memorandum, notice of suspension, notice of disallowance. Pero sa ilalim ng COA audit rules, ano ba yung audit observation memorandum? Preliminary observation lang ito. Ano yung notice of suspension? Pagkulang ang dokumento. Ano yung notice of disallowance? Administrative finding. Pero ito, subject to appeal. Madam Chair, point of order muna.
There's a point of order. Honorable Suntay, let's hear the point of order of the Honorable Abante.
Yung ba pinag-uusapan natin? Ano ko yung ba pinag-uusapan natin?
This is about confidential fund.
Oo.
Yes, this is about confidential
Ang
funds.
pinag-uusapan natin kanina,
Madam Chair,
Kung
this is
sandali
regarding
lang,
confidential
Let's,
funds.
Nagpapaliwanag
let's allow
pa
the
ako.
Honorable Abante to finish the point of order.
ang pinag-uusapan natin kanina, kung yung office ng Secretary of Education, saka yung Vice President's office, impeachable offense ba yun?
Madam Chair,
Pinag-uusapan yun. Dali lang, nagsasalita pa
Kindly
ako.
wait
eh,
until he
baka naman, oh.
finishes.
No. Pinapaliwanag mo kung paano ginamit ang confidential fund. Hindi pa naman pinag-uusapan yan eh. Pangalawa, paliwanag. Dapat yan pinag-uusapan yan sa impeachment court. Hindi dito. Madam Chair, yun lang.
For the guidance of the Honorable Abante, there are allegations as to misuse of confidential fund in the office of the Department of Education with the Vice President as Secretary of Education. So, it is my humble submission that the manifestation of the Honorable Suntay is aligned to the deliberation on the second ground of the fourth impeachment complaint. The point of order is overruled.
Thank you very much, Madam
The Honorable
Chair.
Suntay may proceed.
And to my good friend, Congressman Abante, if I may continue.
You may. Thank you.
Hindi ito automatic proof ng graph of malversation. Ito ay consistent sa sinabi ng Supreme Court sa Navales versus People at Guillen versus People. GR numbers 219598 at 220108. Kung saan sinabi ng Korte na procedural irregularities on procurement violations do not automatically result in criminal liability or graft. Makikita rin, kagaya ng sinabi ng aking paboritong colleague, Congressman Joel Chua kanina, may nabanggit siya tungkol sa kay Madriaga, affidavit ni Madriaga. May tanong ko lang, nasaan ba si Madriaga? Di ba, nakakulong yata. So we are relying on an affidavit issued by an individual who is currently in prison. Now, sino ba si Madriaga? Meron ba siyang appointment kay BP Sara to prove that he is an employee or an authorized person? Para ma-direct naman natin yung linkage nung dalawa. Kasi if we rely heavily dun sa affidavit niya, it should not come
Madam
from
Chair,
a polluted force.
point of
Madam
order.
Chair.
There's another point of order. Let's hear the Honorable Dilima.
Are we talking now here about the credibility of a prospective witness in these proceedings? We're not yet at the evidentiary stage. We're not yet supposed to judge whether or not Mr. Madriaga is credible. So it is premature and it tries to divert the matter now. We are just talking here about the confidential funds and also about the concurrent capacity, of the Commission of Offenses of the Vice President in her concurrent capacity as Secretary of Education.
Madam
So let's
Chair.
not talk yet about whether or not worthy, whether or not credible, whether or not totoo yung sinasabi ni Madriaga. We have yet to hear from him, aside from this sworn testimony, or sworn affidavit. So, that's out of order, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Suntay.
it is necessary to raise this because his affidavit is attached to the complaint and it is relied on heavily. Yun lang ang point ko.
Nevertheless, the Honorable Suntay, please be reminded that we are only at the stage of the sufficiency in substance. We are not discussing yet the weight of the evidence attached.
Yes, I know, Madam Chair. I
The
just
point
want
of
to make
order
that
is sustained.
Madam Chair,
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, just a quick rebuttal.
The Honorable Chua.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I agree with the...
The Honorable Chua is reminded to refrain from further commenting to the manifestation which has been the subject matter of the point of order of the Honorable Dilima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this is just a recital of facts. By the reading of the affidavit itself, titingnan po natin kung meron nga po talagang offense charge. At maliwanag naman po dito, meron pong perang nilabas, as cited in paragraph 1, in paragraph 1, 2, 3, of the complaint. And ito pong 125 million na binabanggit dito, sinabi rin po sa paragraph 125, ay pinasa sa kay certain Dante La Chica. At dito rin po sa complaint na to, maliwanag sa paragraph 134 na sinasabi po ni Madriaga na siya po yung kumuha nitong pera at dineliver niya. So meron pong money trail na hinahanap po tayo. Now, bakit po nakunik ang Vice President? Kasi po, sinasabi rin po dito sa paragraph 150, sinasabi po dito na yung pong pagpapasa ng pera from the SDO to another na wala naman pong koneksyon ay upon the instruction of the Vice President. Now, dito rin po sa ating affidavit, nakalagay rin po dito at dinefine din po dito kung ano po ang definition o element ng graft and corruption. Nakalagay po yan sa paragraph 146. RA number 3019, paragraph 3A, penalizes public officers who persuade, induce, or influence another public officer to perform an act constituting a violation of rules and regulation. Definitely, yung pagpupunta po ng pera from one person other than the SDO is a violation of rules and regulation. Thank you po.
Madam Chair, a
Thank
quick
you.
reply.
Before I call the Honorable Sontay, let me finish first with the list. The Honorable Nasal and then the Honorable Acosta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Article 2 likewise fails to meet the constitutional threshold of sufficiency in substance. The issues raised, particularly those concerning confidential funds, under Joint Circular number 2015-01, audit observation memoranda and notices of disallowance were substantially discussed during prior deliberations. Nung in-apply ng committee yung standards na ito during the PBBM proceedings, sinabi nun na ang preliminary audit findings are not final adjudications of liability. Audit observation memoranda and notices of disallowance remain appealable and subject to administrative and judicial review. Kaya standing alone, kitang-kita na these do not establish graft malversation or betrayal of public trust. Rapid liquidation by itself is not per se unlawful. Cash handling is intrinsic to the nature of confidential and intelligence funds. What must be pleaded are ultimate facts of unlawful conversion, personal appropriation, manifest bad faith, or a specific amount personally received by the respondent. Pag binasa yung complaint, wala naman naka-allege dito na essential elements. Puro inferences lang ang meron. Inference is not an ultimate fact. For these reasons, Article 2 likewise fails the insufficiency in substance threshold. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next is the Honorable Acosta.
Madam Chair, while I agree to the Congressman Nazal and Congressman Bong Suntay that COA findings are not criminal judgment, but are highly relevant in this discussion on whether or not pleaded facts in this fourth complaint shows an accountability breach. Our test here today for the members is whether the fourth complaint, pleads objective audit red flags, which is the ultimate facts recited, supporting betrayal of public trust and that of graft and corruption, Madam Chair. My second question, Madam Chair, is for the two gentlemen who, Pastor Abante and Congressman Ortega. In their pleading, Madam Chair, one of the evidentiary value is JC number 2015-01, and in relation to that, notice of disallowance addressed to the VP, dated August 8, 2024. My question, Madam Chair, on whether or not Annex G2 or that notice of disallowance August 8, 2024 have already attained finality?
Would you like to comment, Honorable Abante?
What is
He's
again the
asking about the status of the notice of disallowance. I believe this is the 73 million of the Department of Education.
I think, Madam Chair, that the COA would have more of the right to answer that than us, no, because they're the ones that actually gave, the
Honorable
disallowances.
Acosta,
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all.
are you done?
Madam Chair, would be able to just answer the manifestation of Congressman Nazal?
Before I call you Honorable Abante, allow the chair to call first the Honorable Suntay.
Thank you. Just a quick reply to the statement made by our good friend, Rep. Joel Chua. Yung nabanggit niyang pera that went to La Chica and passed hands, that shows movement of funds. It is not a proof of illegality of use or personal appropriations of the said funds. In fact, the VP is a high-ranking official, and she relies heavily, and as well as other officials, on her subordinates, accountants, unless it can be shown and can be proved that she personally fabricated the receipts, she received the money, or she had gain from those funds, then I believe that the allegation is not substantial. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Before I bring back to you the floor, Honorable Abante, since you are the endorser, let me finish first the other Kongs. The Honorable Ridon is recognized.
I think most of the matter has already been discussed yesterday. We are basically just reprosecuting the points that had already been raised yesterday. Even the defenses of the Vice President had already been stated yesterday, which is why the endorsers and the other congressmen are also reprosecuting the points, no? But I think, Madam Chair, even if we remove the Madriaga affidavit, the basis of the notice of disallowance, which remains pending before the Commission and Bank, can actually stand on its own as proof of the accountability of the Vice President in the misuse of confidential funds, no? So, wag na ho natin pag-usapan muna yung laman po ng paano ho yung from La Chica to Madriaga. Kahit tanggalin po natin yon, Madam Chair, titindig po yung usapin po ng malversation. Kahapon, sinagot na rin naman ho natin, hindi ho requirement sa malversation, sa different types of malversation, yung pong personal benefit. Totoo, meron po nga malversation that requires personal benefit. Pero in technical malversation, hindi ho depensa. Yung meron ho kayong personal benefit. The fact na meron hong maling paggamit doon po sa itinakda ng paggamit po ng pondo, technical malversation na po yun. May kaso na pong kriminal yun. At ano ho ba yung pinag-uusapan natin sa misuse of confidential funds? Ang pinag-uusapan ho natin sa misuse of confidential funds, tama ba na ginagamit po for what? For team building activities, yung pong confidential funds eh. Hindi ba? And finally, as an additional and new point, Madam Chair, one of the defenses relating to Madriaga, which is being, I think, stated today by the Office of the Vice President, is that Mr. Madriaga was never an employee of the Office of the Vice President. But I think the point needs to be made that in different parts of the bureaucracy, for example, yung mga contracts of service, yung pong mga job orders, hindi naman ho yan technically empleyado ng mga opisina. Hindi ho ba? So I don't think that stands as the defense that Mr. Madriaga is actually not an employee of any of the offices of the Office of the Vice President or when she was Secretary of the Department of Education. And finally, as a final point, yung pong mga confidential agents, which is basically, I think, who Madriaga is. Yung mga confidential agents po ba are treated actually as employees of offices that actually implement confidential funds? I don't think so. So, this particular new development, which the Vice President is actually submitting as a defense on Madriaga, would not hold water, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ridon. Before we proceed, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Ana York P. Bondoc from the 4th District of Pampanga. We acknowledge as well the presence of the Honorable Sarah Jane I. Ilago from Gabriela Party List. And finally, we acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Congresswoman Rene Ann Lourdes Matibag from the 1st District of Laguna. Thank you for coming.
Chair.
To conclude our deliberation on the second round, I wish to express the significance of all your arguments, but let me manifest my observation as well that despite our resolve to adopt already our deliberation in the sufficiency and substance of the third impeachment complaint with respect to similar grounds, it appears that we are raising the same arguments and manifestations.
Madam Chair.
I understand that we value all your manifestations, but please allow the chair to continue on encouraging you to raise new arguments instead. The Honorable Defensor.
Madam Chair, may I just remind the members of the committee that it is the intention of the framers of our Constitution that once an impeachment complaint has been initiated, the proceedings must be expedited